If you have a tight sternocleidomastoid muscle, or SCM for short, and you're tired of doing the same repetitive stretches that don't really work and you want to get to the root cause of why that muscle is tight and what you can do to fix it, this video is for you. There's two main reasons why this muscle can be tight, and I'm going to show you what the differences are between those two things because each has an individual best approach for it. The SCM muscle attaches on the side of your skull right here, and it runs down and attaches on parts of what we call your sternum bone and also clavicle or your collarbone, like so. So this muscle has the function of two main things primarily. First, when it contracts, it can tilt your head to the same side like that. But also it can rotate your head to the opposite side. So it can rotate my head to the right if my left SCM muscle contracts. Also, it can side bend my head to the left if my left SCM muscle contracts. But there's also another reason that is highly underappreciated that this muscle can help us do, and that is that because it attaches on our collarbone and parts of our sternum, it has leverage to help elevate the rib cage a little bit. So what this means is that this muscle does have a role in our breathing pattern, and when our breathing pattern is compromised to a certain extent, let's say our diaphragm isn't working to the optimal extent that it could, then we can have this muscle work in overdrive and work too much to help in a compensatory manner elevate the rib cage to help bring in air. It's important to know that everyone is asymmetrical, and this plays into this exact problem to a certain extent. The question is just how asymmetrical are you? But here's what we see under normal circumstances. Not always, just most of the time. Typically, people have a lower shoulder on one side. And that lower shoulder is representing a chest wall that is being pulled down on that side. And it's not as easily able to expand relative to the other side. So what I'm saying is that most people have a predisposition to being able to open up one side of their rib cage more than the other. Now, when this happens and the chest wall is being pulled down on that side, the head has a tendency to be turned towards that same side, but side bent to the opposite side. So if I had a lower right shoulder, what I would typically expect to see is a head that's side bent to the left, but it's turned right. These would be the circumstances that would create a relatively shorter left SCM muscle, because remember, the SCM muscle turns your head to the opposite side, but side bends you to the same side. So if my right shoulder was lower and my head was side bent to the left, you can see how that would shorten my left SCM, and you could feel the symptoms of chronic tightness in that area because you can't get your head to properly fully turn to the left side and side bend to the right. That muscle on the left can't let go to allow the right SCM to do its job properly. But if you were feeling chronic tension in your right SCM and your right shoulder was lower and you had a head that was turned to the right and side bent to the left, then what could be happening here is that yes, that right SCM is in a relatively elongated position compared to the left. But because you can't open up your rib cage on the right side fully and properly, the SCM is using its leverage on the collarbone and the sternum to try to elevate that rib cage on the right. So it's trying to work in the function of respiration and breathing, and less so mechanically in turning your head and whatnot. That's not as big of a consideration as is the breathing component here. Now, I know that that can be complicated, but let me make it very simple for you. The SCM can be tight for two different reasons. The first is that it's holding the head in a given position of where it's turned to one side and tilted towards the other. This is going to make it harder for the head to turn and rotate to the other side. The other reason is I couldn't open up my rib cage on the same side, and this rib cage is being pulled down. So the SCM on the same side is trying to work in overdrive to help elevate the rib cage and create expansion here. So those are the two different circumstances. They require two different types of interventions. Now you may be wondering, well, how do I know which one of those is my problem? Well, if you just look at your posture visually, that can be an indication. If you see a lower shoulder on one side, your head's tilted to the other side, okay, well, that's probably what's going on. But I'm gonna give you a little bit more of a objective way that you could tell. But again, remember, this is an imperfect science. You're taking measurements on yourself. It's not going to be perfect, but this is going to give you a better idea. One way you can assess the rotation of your neck is to sit tall, feel your sit bones in contact with some surface, and be tall within your posture, but don't let your rib cage flare. Keep your rib cage down, sternum straight ahead. And now, keeping your head stacked over your rib cage and your hips, you can just close your eyes and get a sense for what it feels like to pivot just through your neck and turn to one side, stopping once you start to feel more than about a 2 or 3 out of 10 of resistance, and then turn to the other side and compare which side is easier. If you need to, film yourself. Make sure you're not dipping your shoulders and moving anything besides your neck. And then what you could do is try to side bend to one side and just get a feel for what that is. And for me, it is much easier for me to side bend my head to the left than to the right. That feels more restricted. So what you would typically expect to see is, again, better rotation to one side, but better side bending to the other side. For me, what I feel is better rotation to the right, better side bending to the left. So this would be a shorter left SCM. So if my left SCM was tighter in this position, that would mean that what I need to do is better improve my ability to get elongation of this left SCM and turn my head better to the left and be able to side bend my head to the right more effectively. Now let's say that my problem was on the right side. Well, in this case, what I need to do is better expand my right side chest wall to help take stress off of that right SCM, which is trying to elevate my rib cage for me. So there's two different types of interventions. I'm gonna show you an exercise for the first one where I need to create better rotation of my head to the left and side bending to the right. This first exercise is for those who have a tighter SCM on the side that their head is side bent to, and also can turn away from likely more easily. You're usually also gonna see a lower shoulder on that side too. So what you're gonna do is grab a light band and attach it to something high, like on a door frame or whatever works. And you're gonna sit with your feet firmly on the ground, and you have about a 90-degree bend at both your knees or your hips, around there. You wanna be able to feel your sit bones as evenly as you can on both sides. You're gonna take that band, get a little tension in it, not too much, and then just reach it down, straight down by your side. That's gonna drop your shoulder on that side. That is going to relatively side bend your head to the other side. So you gotta make sure your eyes stay perfectly straight ahead. Just drop the shoulder. Don't try to turn your head too much. Just have the intention to drop there a little bit. Keep your eyes straight ahead. And now you're gonna feel your abs on this side engage a little bit. Now you're just gonna sit here and breathe in through your nose, out through your mouth. Get all the air out for about 5 to 8 seconds. Full, nice, soft, long exhale. You're gonna feel these abs engage more. And now the key is to inhale through your nose, not feeling any tension in your neck whatsoever. So it's gonna be a nice, slow, but full inhale, silent inhale through your nose. If you wanna add a little bit more juice to this, what you could do is very slightly turn your head to that same side to put this left SCM muscle on a little bit more of a stretch. And now you can sit here and just take breaths, 5 to 8 breath cycles per set. If you guys appreciate getting to the root cause of a lot of these common issues, like a tight neck or other muscles that could be tight throughout the body, check out my beginner body restoration program. It's designed to be a true total body reset and improve range of motion and movement options and your posture from head to toe. So check it out down below in the description if you want to learn more. Now this exercise is good for usually if you have a tighter SCM on the side of the lower shoulder, and also your head will usually be side bent away from that side, but it can more easily turn towards that side. Now, what you're gonna do here is get in a 90-90 side lying position, meaning you have around a 90-degree bend at both your knees and your hips. You have something rolled up like a shower or beach towel underneath your lowest ribs, but your hip is still flat on the ground. You have a pillow double folded in half, so that way your head is at least neutral and parallel with the ground, if not very slightly side bent towards that top side. Now what you're gonna do is you're going to make sure that you exhale first and bring your rib cage down. And now the key is this. You need to create a little tunnel or space between your lower ribs and here. So you're gonna either reach this top hip away from you like this, not arching your ribs, but just keeping your ribs down, getting a subtle little reach like that, or you can roll this shoulder underneath you a little bit. Whatever you can do, whichever one of those two cues works for you without engaging your neck whatsoever is key. So let's get that little tunnel. Some people might do a little combination of both like I just did. Now what I'm gonna do is take my top arm and I'm just gonna let it hang over my head in front of my ear a little bit like this. Not too far behind me because that's gonna extend me too much. I wanna be just right here. And now this is really gonna open up this chest wall to expand. So the only tension I should feel in my body right here is a little bit of my downside side abs because I'm trying to reach and create a little bit of that tunnel. My rib cage stays down. I'm gonna sit here and take breaths in through my nose, feeling all this open up, exhale through my mouth. All the way out, nice, soft, and relaxed until I feel more side abs engage here. And as I inhale, I'm not going to lose the tension here or a little bit of that tunnel. But when you inhale, it's very, very key. You do not engage your neck. So if you're having a hard time in this position, keeping your neck shut off, what you could do is you could take that right arm or that right hand and you could just have it either kind of be behind your head like this, or in a worst case scenario, you could just open up out here a little bit more, and this will still facilitate opening of the chest wall here. Do what you need to do to make sure that your neck does not engage even 1%, because we need to educate the body what it feels like to expand this side without relying on the neck to help us. I'd recommend doing the exercise you need every single day for at least 3 sets of about 5 to 8 slow breath cycles. Generally, more is better, but you want to make sure you're hitting those 3 sets every day for at least a couple of weeks. But you should notice some immediate benefit that continues to get better over time. Thank you guys for watching, and I will see you in the next video.